Hey guys, welcome back. Woodworking here. Today's video is going to be all about how to play Lance. I get asked this question a lot. Lance is my best hero and I've gotten very good at playing him to his fullest potential throughout all facets of the game. In this video I will show you both how to play Lance and how to play against Lance more successfully. Lance has three abilities: Impale, Gythian Wall, and Combat Roll. The combat roll should be used primarily to reposition yourself to make landing his other two abilities more effective. The Impale is probably the hardest ability to land in Lance's kit. It seems very slow to channel, and inexperienced players may find it not landing when they thought it would because of the ability's hitbox. However, when landed as an engaged tool, it usually means certain death if followed up by Lance's teammates. Yeah, Woodworking. But how do you land the damn thing? When you click the Impale ability and it shows you your usable range, you probably assume that the tip of that range is the maximum that you will be able to land an Impale on someone. But is it actually a tad further than the visual circle Vainglory shows you? Let me show you what I'm talking about. You can see on these Impales that the target actually looks like they are out of the range. But as long as the edge of that character's body is on the edge of the range of your Impale, the ability will land, even if it doesn't look close to their feet. Pop quiz. How long does a target who gets impaled get rooted for? 2 seconds? 1.5? Depends. Until overdriven, the root lasts 1 second. So a target who gets impaled can't move for 1 second. Once you overdrive the Impale, it lasts for 1.3 seconds. For this reason, I suggest every Captain Lance player overdrive their Impale first. So that means that by level 8, you will be rooting your target for 1.3 seconds, unless you do what? Buy Crystal Power. Crystal Power adds 0.15% of your total CP to extend root duration up to a maximum of 0.3 seconds longer. Adding CP to Lance after getting your core items can be very effective. Now, all that is meaningless if you miss your Impale. So here are my tips to being more successful in landing your Impale. The more parallel you can start your Impale to your target's movement direction, the more successful you will be. You will often find yourself in the lane bush as a captain playing Lance. As you wait to gank the enemy laner, you should stay on the very tip of the lane bush. A lot of people like to dance around in the lane bush because they get bored, but I don't think this is the right thing to do, especially as Lance. Moving back and forth takes you out of the optimal position for at least half the time you are doing it. As you move away from your target, if you need to root in a hurry, it could cost you an Impale. So don't be impatient. Just lie in wait as close to your target while still hidden as you can be. Most laners will attempt to run if they see you starting an Impale, so you should aim one body length behind them. I told you that the more parallel to your target's movement direction you can activate your Impale, the more successful you will be. But why? Let's say you're playing against a Ringo, and you want to root him. You know his safety zone is near his turret, so if he sees you coming, he is going to run towards safety. If you are trying to impale him from a 90-degree angle, it is very difficult to land the ability. But as you move to a more even position with him vertically, it becomes easier to hit him as he moves because your root is extending his escape direction. Let's look at some examples. A big part of landing Lance's root is anticipation. Most players of Vainglory move towards a safe direction in the fastest way possible. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you are going to root someone, especially a carry in the lane, you should assume that if the person is moving, they will continue moving in that direction at their current speed. As you play Lance more, you will be able to adjust to players' movement speed and change your target location for your root to land on their path no matter how fast they are going. Even if you miss, it will be because they altered their movement path either by stopping, slowing down, or changing course. So your root, if aimed correctly, will at worst make the enemy carry's escape slower, and at best lock them down unable to move for 1.6 seconds, which is literally a lifetime in Vainglory. So how do you combat this if you are playing against Lance? Anticipate where Lance will be coming from and move perpendicular to that direction. If your enemy captain is Lance, generally he is going to be in the mustache bush. His angle towards you will generally be between 30 and 60 degrees. So if you change your escape route, which will be counterintuitive if you've never tried this, to be 45 degrees opposite where you expect him to come from, you will have a much higher survival rate versus Lance. Another counterintuitive thing that is very effective versus Lance is just stopping your movement completely for a moment. His timing is completely dependent on predicting your movement to continue in a straight line at the same speed. So stopping cold while moving when Lance starts an impale, especially the later in the game it goes, will make you very hard to hit. This only works if he is coming at an angle to you. If he is parallel to your movement direction, do not stop. Change the angle of your movement. Let's talk about Gythian Wall now. Most of you probably know that when you push somebody into an obstacle with the Gythian Wall, it stuns them. And ideally, this is the only way it would ever be used. Stunning the enemy team.
Gythian Wall is the ability I see most Lance players misuse. It should be saved until you know you can get the most value out of it. Using it solely as a damage dealing ability is almost never the right move. You should be using Gythian Wall, usually to follow up either an Impale you rooted someone with, or in combination with another crowd control ability from one of your teammates. Beginning a fight by chaining your Impale and Gythian Wall together will usually result in death for whoever you are locking down. But remember, the hero being impaled can't move for 1 second or longer, so don't immediately use your Gythian Wall. Wait for a half a second or longer to get the maximum crowd control out of your ability. Gythian Wall moves enemy heroes whichever direction you point it. But what you may not know is what position the enemy heroes can be in and still be pushed the direction you want them to go. Kind of a hard concept to explain with words, so let me show you in game. Gythian Wall's area of effect starts from slightly behind Lance's center point and extends to the edge of the ability's circles of influence. You can see on these examples, you can actually push someone towards your turret or allies that is in front of you. Knowing this can be really effective when trying to stun enemies in awkward positions. Throughout the game, you should be actively using your Gythian Wall to disrupt enemy carries and heroes during teamfights. If you don't have an obstacle to stun enemy heroes into, you can still peel for your teammates by keeping melee heroes away from your teammate or pushing carries who are trying to land skill shots out of the ideal position. It should be noted that Gythian Wall offers excellent damage reduction from the targeted direction, and this can be very effective for body blocking. Once overdriven, Gythian Wall turns into an activatable block, but the block is not direction dependent. This can be very effective for blocking Null Wave, or Catherine's Silence, or even Arden's Gauntlet, among many other things. I hope if you guys have never played Lance that I taught you a bunch of things that inspired you to use him and ruin the enemy team's day by just stunning and rooting them to death. If you do play Lance already, I hope you learned something. Get out there and use him some more. He's a really fun hero to play, and he's really effective at what he does. That's going to do it for me today, guys. As always, I really do hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the fold.